Welcome to Money Patterns Decoded. Money is never just about money, it is a pattern. Today we expose one of those hidden patterns, see exactly how it controls your finances, and discover the precise shift that can set you free. Let's begin. Sharp observation. Much of what you call bad timing, or not enough, is actually paperwork you signed years ago. Not on paper, but in behavior. You live under an invisible contract that limits the size of your earning windows, the kinds of offers you make, and the ways you allow abundance to arrive. It quietly sets a horizon for what you can expect from life, and most people never even see the signature at the bottom. That lack of visibility is the pattern's power. I call this the invisible contract pattern. In the next 7 minutes, I will show you how it operates, both in the mind and in the unseen. How it tightens your pricing, warps your yes and mortgages future joy, then give you one exact daily renegotiation you can do in 90 seconds to begin rewriting the terms. Section 1. The psychological mechanism. Think of the invisible contract as a mental promissory note you made to someone, to a parent, to a circumstance, to a frightened younger self, promising to steward resources in a way that keeps them safe. That sounds noble, until it calcifies into discounting your future self. You make choices that benefit your past obligations more than your future capacity. You underprice your work because the contract says, implicitly, I can't take more. You say yes to low-value demands because the contract lists your service as caretaking, not commerce. Guilt and obligation become clauses. You stop asking for fair compensation because asking feels like breaking a vow. There's an internal accounting trick here, hyper-discounting the future self. If you value your future needs less than past promises, you spend present levers to preserve an outdated identity. The result is fixed pricing ceilings, chronic underinvestment, and a habit of deferring your own needs as if scarcity were a moral stance. This is psychological conditioning disguised as virtue. Awareness shows the fine print. Section 2. The esoteric mechanism. Across traditions, spoken vows and repeated vows are treated like contracts of the soul, language that anchors fate. Call them ancestral pacts, promises passed down in stories, or vows you made in a moment of fear. The energetic effect is similar. Speech patterns and repeated pledges become wiring. When your family says, "We're not the kind of people who charge more," that phrase circulates like currency in your lineage. It accumulates weight until it feels faded. You begin to experience scarcity as destiny rather than habit. That's why language matters. The verbs you use, the promises you repeat, the flattering story you tell about being careful. All of it writes terms into a ledger that your psyche honors. Esoterically, this isn't mystical fluff. It's a description of how repeated intentional speech shapes identity and expectation. If you treat vows as immutable, you inherit limits. If you treat vows as negotiable instruments, you regain leverage. Reframe a precise image. The invisible contract is a mortgage on your future joy. Imagine you borrowed against your future emotional and financial capacity, monthly payments due in the form of lower rates, smaller offers, and permission withheld. The principal is your unrenegotiated vow. The interest is the opportunity cost, the projects you never start, the prices you never ask for, the investments you defer. The leverage is real. Few things bind you, like a debt to an identity. The leak is also real. Small daily shifts can reassign permission to receive. Section 3. The daily shift. The 90-second future ledger rewrite. Do this each morning. Step 1. Take a breath and name the clause. Say aloud one sentence that captures the unseen promise. Example: I will always prioritize the family's needs, overcharging what I'm worth. Step 2. State a counterterm. A short sentence that reassigns permission. I now give my future self permission to be paid fairly, to invest, and to say no when it protects our long-term capacity. Step 3. Sign it for yourself. Place your hand over your chest and say, I renegotiate and release this term on behalf of my future self. Finish with 3 counting breaths. Make it micro and repeatable. 90 seconds is short enough to stick to, potent enough to rewire the daily language you use about money. Vary the counterterm depending on the day. Pricing language on Mondays, boundary language on Wednesdays, investment permission on Fridays. The ritual is not magic. It's disciplined re-language plus a tiny embodied seal. That combination changes default behavior faster than advice alone. Practical application. 3 quick examples. Pricing. If your invisible contract says, we charge less to stay safe, replace that with a contract clause that sets a minimum rate that honors your skill and time. Say it aloud, then price to that number for 1 week. Saying no, translate the renegotiation into a template line. I can't take that on right now. I'm reserving capacity for commitments that grow our future. Investment. Automate a tiny transfer labeled future capacity and treat it as non-negotiable. Test all of this with a stoic check. If the renegotiation were true, would you be better able to live with integrity tomorrow? If yes, keep it. A quick caution. Some contracts are tied to trauma or family dynamics. If those clauses trigger strong emotion, journal the content, slow the ritual, and consider guided support. The aim here is steady reassignment of permission, not avoidance of needed healing. That is the money pattern. That is the mechanism. And that is your shift today. Money is a pattern. Awareness is the key. If you're ready to decode the full architecture of your financial life, explore my complete library at Desmarques.com. Guided renegotiations, ritual protocols, and step-by-step exercises waiting there. Start with the permission ledger. Sequence if you want the full rewrite. See you tomorrow.